on the show that pays when you don't make the waves. It's the Quiz with Bob!
A deadly virus changes everything. Doc, 2-hour finale, tomorrow on Fox.
Now, your primetime local news leader. Fox 22 News at 10.
Public safety officials in Belfast are pushing for a new public safety building, one that would serve as a hub for ambulance, fire, and the police department. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Beth Jones. The new building would replace what officials say are aging and inadequate facilities. Our Grace Blanchard shares more.
It's had many lives. It was a car dealership. It was a bank.
The Belfast Police Department says its one-floor, 100-year-old facility presents significant operational and safety challenges.
This is all supposed to be ballistic protection. I mean, this is just glass, just quarter-inch glass.
A former bank vault with zero ventilation is currently serving as an evidence room.
The fumes will actually start to give you a headache, usually within 10 or 15 minutes.
The city is considering the future construction of a public safety building, one that would serve as a unified home for its public safety departments.
A public safety building really would take the city and prepare it for the future and also address all these safety issues we're dealing with right now.
The facility, if constructed, would be located on this approximately 2.5-acre parcel that is the current home to the fire and ambulance departments.
It's needing a lot of repair.
Belfast Fire Chief shared concerns about his deteriorating station, which he says lacks proper sleeping quarters and showers for the crew. He says the city has been considering a new public safety building for several years.
One facility to maintain, it will have the modern amenities, and provide the amenities that the crews need to operate on a daily basis.
Chief Richards says the fire department responds to over 3,000 calls annually and provides EMS services for 5 additional communities.
If we have a structure fire, they're automatically out the door for us. So with them being 24 hours, they really need the facility to be able to take care of that.
According to city officials, Belfast has secured more than $2 million in grant funding in support of this project. Both departments are hoping to secure additional funding to make the project a reality.
For the fire chief and myself, we're committed to seeing this through. We want to get our folks a new place.
In Belfast, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
A man wanted in New York on murder charges has been arrested here in Maine in Waterville. 19-year-old David McCadney of New York was arrested on a warrant for second-degree homicide after Waterville police, the FBI, and the NYPD Gun Violence Suppression Division executed a search warrant at 439 West River Road in Waterville on Friday. Police Chief William Bonney says the warrant was in connection with multiple gang-related shootings. McCadney is charged as a fugitive from justice. He's being held without bail at the Kennebec County Jail. Well, switching gears now, this legislative session is drawing to a close in about a week, and lawmakers were in the State House until late into the evening trying to finish up the work slated for this 132nd session. Both the House and Senate were in session starting this morning, and we're still going as of roughly 8 o'clock tonight. They'll be back tomorrow, and one of the bills they'll be considering is LD 2239, an act to designate school sports participation and facilities by sex. It's a referendum on girls' sports and transgender athletes in Maine. LD 2239 will be taken up in the Judiciary Committee tomorrow morning starting at 9 a.m. And if it doesn't pass as a bill, it could be on the November ballot as a citizens' referendum. Meanwhile, gubernatorial candidate Troy Jackson announced his proposed fair share tax plan today. Jackson says for too long, Maine working and middle-class families have carried the load while the very wealthy have been allowed to skate. His plan calls for a 4% surtax on income over $1 million that would be invested back into housing, childcare, long-term care, health care, and education. Jackson says if elected governor, he would also propose raising the top corporate tax rate on profits over $3.5 million, raising it by 1%, and would work to do away with corporate tax breaks and loopholes. He says former Governor Paul LePage slashed funding for education, property tax relief, first responders, state workers, and more in 2011 so he could give tax breaks to his wealthy friends. Jackson says he wants to restore a measure of justice and make Maine's tax code fair again.
What's happening in this state and in this country is poor people, or even working class people, are the ones that are getting the shaft. And that is the people that I'm worried about.
Well, this week marks National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. It's a time dedicated to recognizing the men and women whose work often happens out of sight, but is critical in moments of crisis. Our Alex Schley has more.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
Officials say these men and women are a critical link in the emergency response system, serving as the first point of contact.
It might be that they're calling because they don't know if they need help. They don't know if we can do anything. And so there's a lot more behind the scenes that they do.
Since 1994, communities across the country have taken the time to recognize this work during National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, celebrated during the second full week in April.
Anytime somebody makes a call, it goes into a dispatcher's ear, and then they have to get that information out to the correct department or emergency service to make sure that people get help as fast as they need.
Officials say call volume in Penobscot County is particularly high. For the past 7 years, Penobscot Emergency Dispatch has been recognized as the busiest public safety answering point in Maine.
If you're getting a call, it's perceived as someone's worst day, and that's how we have to handle it.
This team of dispatchers knows firsthand just how critical these calls can be.
It was our crew that was working when the plane crash had happened in Bangor, and so it was all of us coming together to really work and do everything that we can to help aid Bangor in their dispatch and give them every single resource that they asked for.
Officials say it was this kind of coordination and quick thinking that helped first responders deliver the necessary response.
But it was a lot of clear communication from one side of the room to the other to say, listen, they need this resource. Can you get them toned out? Can you get them started that way or get them started to here?
As National Public Safety Telecommunication Week begins, officials are encouraging people to take a moment to recognize the dispatchers working behind the scenes. In Bangor, Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
The Levant Fire Department recently received an award from the Maine Fire Chiefs Association for their ongoing outreach and engagement with young people. Earlier this month, Levant Fire received the Best Practice Award for their fire prevention programming known as the Spark PUG program, which engages youth to educate them about fire safety and prevention. The PUG part is actually an acronym which stands for Plan Your Escape, Understand, and Get Out Safely. It was named in honor of a pug the department's once rescued and revived at a scene, not the little cutie patootie you see at the bottom right of your screen, though. They also hold fire camps in the summer for young people. Tonight, they presented their Best Practice Award to the entire department. Take a listen.
We want to get, plant that seed with that younger generation that they want to come back and be firefighters, and 10 years later become a junior. And we've seen success in that, right? We have people that do it now that were part of the program when we first initiated it. And we've been doing this probably over 10 years. So it's been cool.
Well, Chief Strout says they want the community to know how crucial these programs are and the importance of preserving them for the benefit of the entire community. And now we'll turn things over for a first check of our forecast.
All right, Beth, thank you. Old Town Redemption now offering a 10% bonus on your returnables and a monthly $100 drawing. Talking weather out there today, it was cool, right? The average highs in the 50s. We are 48 here in Bangor today, 46 Millinocket, 47 Bar Harbor. Tomorrow, we're working on that, though. Mid-60s are back in the forecast for tomorrow, and will likely stay there for Wednesday and Thursday as well. Lots of rain showers across the state today, but they're winding down now. We'll have decreasing clouds overnight. That'll be short-lived, though. So tomorrow, a couple cloud-free hours followed by this system here across the Great Lakes. That's going to bring us some more rain tomorrow evening, and that rain tomorrow evening could be locally heavy once again. Going forward, though, so a break in the action for a few hours tonight, followed by increasing clouds tomorrow, and then again, locally heavy rainfall around this time tomorrow evening. Our forecast then for tonight, though, is decreasing clouds late with low temperatures down near 50. Your full forecast is coming up.
And still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, more of your local news.
Are you experiencing foot pain? Comfort Shoes & More has a team of experts trained in podorthics to help you find relief. They offer tailored fittings, shoe modifications, customized orthotics, and much more for the ordinary or the hard-to-fit foot. Discover the latest in functional and fashionable footwear for men and women from today's top brands: Hoka, Brooks, Keen, Merrell, and Ariat. From running to walking, casual or dress, they have it all. Take the drive to Newport for a sit-and fit to find your perfect fit. You and your feet will be glad you did.
Sprague's Nursery and Garden Center is your destination for all things green, and yellow, and pink, and red, and, well, you'll understand when you visit us. Plants aren't just another department here. They're our whole world. From gardening classes to our expansive greenhouses, we cultivate a community of budding and seasoned gardeners alike. Professional landscapers turn to us too. Shouldn't you? Sprague's Nursery and Garden Center, growing with you since 1947.
At Toyota, we believe longevity is the true measure of affordability. The longer something lasts, the further your money goes. So with Toyota being the longest lasting brand, your money goes the furthest. Now, during our longest lasting value event, you could save up to $5,800 with 2.99 for 72 on most 2026 Tundra models. Plus, get $1,000 bonus financing cash. See your New England Toyota dealer, your all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota, let's go places.
When the morning light hits Maine, start your day with a good morning, Maine. Craig Colson, Janessa Bishop by your side, bringing the stories that matter statewide. Local news and the forecast ahead. Wake up informed, ready to go on ABC 7 and Fox 22.
A closer look now at the state's new public school cell phone ban, which Governor Mills just signed into law last week in the budget. The ban applies only to public school students and is a bell-to-bell policy, meaning phones cannot be used at any point during the school day. But one student we spoke with says his school already has a similar ban in place and it's not working out that well. Max Williams has the story.
I don't think they add anything to the educational environment.
Dan Melnick has two daughters. One of them is 11 and has already proposed the idea of getting a phone, but he is holding off and says he believes phones can be a distraction, especially in school.
They're there to learn. They're not on a stranded island, you know. They're still reachable via the office.
That's why Melnick is all for a statewide public school cell phone ban. Just signed into law under Governor Mills' supplemental budget, it allocates more than $300,000 to implement this new policy. But how do students feel about it?
I like it just being there just in case, because I feel like you never know what's going to happen nowadays.
We caught up with a Portland high school student on his lunch break, the only time he is supposed to use his device, according to his school's current cell phone policy.
Students follow it, but whenever I go in the bathrooms, I already see people using their phones.
There are some questions about which schools are required to follow the ban. There are several semi-private schools in Maine that do receive some public funding. We reached out to two of them, Thornton Academy and Lincoln Academy, to ask if they are included under this ban. Both responded back saying they are not impacted by the new legislation and already have a cell phone policy in place. We then asked Governor Mills today, why does this new bill apply only to public schools and not to semi-private, which do receive taxpayer dollars? We did not hear back.
That was Max Williams reporting. Well, it's the fastest growing sport in America, and for some, one of the most annoying when it comes to noise. Kittery town leaders now want to close the town's only public outdoor pickleball courts. As Brad Rogers found, efforts to reduce the noise have fallen short.
Excessive noise, frequent complaints from neighbors, and the threat of a lawsuit all led to a recommendation to close these outdoor pickleball courts in Kittery. Even pickleball players admit the constant clatter of rackets hitting plastic balls can be noisy and irritating.
I think pickleball is kind of
loud sometimes, and it's annoying.
An attorney for a trauma nurse who works overnight says the noise kept her from sleeping during the day. Her backyard practically touched the pickleball courts. She told us today the noise was a nightmare, and a sound study last June found paddle hits exceeded the town's limit of 55 weighted decibels. Those are decibels that reflect human perception.
It is a very annoying sound.
The Kittery Community Center says even track walkers have complained about the noise.
People love pickleball. I wish there was a way we could keep the noise down a little, but I just turn my, phone up a little to listen to the music.
Pickleball players, though, say anyone who goes to a gym or buys a home next to a playground should expect some noise.
That has been a rec area since I was a kid. It was basketball courts, softball field, soccer field, pickleball courts, the playground.
You have to kind of take all sound into consideration, I think.
Sound barriers were added to try to reduce the noise. It wasn't enough. The town considered installing a taller fence, additional sound-absorbing barriers, and providing quieter pickleball equipment. But with no guarantee noise levels would be acceptable, staff recommended closing the courts. Town leaders said they'll explore future uses for this space, as well as an alternate location suitable for a pickleball court.
I think they have to consider where they're building it.
The town council meets tonight and could vote on whether to officially close these pickleball courts. No word yet on what might go here in its place.
Well, for residents in storm-ravaged areas around Camp Ellis in Saco, the wait for a fix is almost over. For decades, that area has been pounded by ocean storms, with studies revealing that an old jetty built to protect the mouth of the Saco River was actually diverting storm energy right into the Camp Ellis neighborhood, washing away homes, roads, and beaches. The city and the Army Corps of Engineers now say the work to fix that jetty will soon begin. Sam DeCoste reports.
The Saco jetty was built in the 19th century to create a shipping channel, but its design caused severe erosion along the Camp Ellis shoreline. So there are plans to build a 750-foot jetty to angle out of this one, as well as replenish about 300,000 cubic yards of sand.
This used to be, there was 300 feet of beach here at one point, and I think the fact of the matter is that it was destroyed by a man-made structure.
David Plavin is a part of Save Our Shore Saco Bay, a nonprofit group dedicated to restoring the shoreline. He says the project entails building a new jetty and maintaining the beach every year for a decade.
But, we want a beach, and, all the sand gets washed up to Pine Point, and it'll be a lot nicer if we can keep it here.
According to Saco Harbor Master David Pendleton, the jetty construction is set to begin in mid-June at a cost of about $45 million.
Are you hopeful that this project will have positive results?
Yes, the goal is certainly to, like I said, preserve our beach, keep the sand from being washed away from the energy reaching the beach from storms.
Plavin believes the new jetty will keep the coastline safer from future storms, but he says there's no way to know for sure until they arrive.
We're expecting some improvement until it's out there and we go through a couple storm cycles and winters. It's really going to be hard to tell.
Construction is expected to be done by August 2027. The city doesn't expect any inconvenience to the public while construction takes place.
Home sales and prices stayed steady in the month of March. According to Maine listings, the median sales price was unchanged at $375,000. They say the availability of homes for sale in Maine continues to be tight, although realtors have reported positive trends happening in many counties. 2026 president of the Maine Association of Realtors, Judy Oberg, says, quote, as families time their transitions around the school year and Maine's snow-free months, we expect to see more homes coming onto the market in April and May. On average, 39 families each business day bought a home in Maine in March, and that number will grow during the second and third quarters of the year. Meanwhile, Mainers continue to feel the sting of higher gas prices. The price of a gallon of gas rose almost another 7 cents last week. According to Gas Buddy's survey of 1,200 stations around the state, the average price is now $4.03 a gallon. That's more than 48 cents a gallon higher than a month ago and $1.06 a gallon higher than a year ago. The average The national average price of diesel also increasing more than 4 cents compared to a week ago. Gas Buddy's head of petroleum analysis, Patrick DeHaan, said, quote, average gasoline prices surged for many Americans through the first half of the week before easing in some areas after oil prices slipped following President Trump's announcement of a ceasefire. However, with a breakdown in talks and renewed escalation over the weekend, motorists should prepare for another round of price increases. And coming up on the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22, the U.S. blockade of Iran's blockade went into effect today. And Cuba's president said the U.S. has no valid reason to carry out a military attack against the island or to attempt to depose him. Those stories and more as the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22 continues.
I'm Jim with Lowry Law. I was contacted by a woman who asked me to help one of her friends who had been hurt by a drunk driver. We got him a $250,000 settlement. If you've been hurt by a drunk driver, call me. I'm your go-to guy.
When I was 29, I was diagnosed with cancer. And I think part of research and advocating for more money for cancer research allows survivors to have more time. Senator Collins supports and advocates for more funding for cancer research so that people can have better treatments, they can have better outcomes, and therefore they can live better lives as cancer survivors. Thank you, Senator Collins. Continue fighting for our families.
At Toyota, we believe longevity is the true measure of affordability. The longer something lasts, the further your money goes. So with Toyota being the longest lasting brand, your money goes the furthest. Now, during our longest lasting value event, you can get $4.99 per 60 on a fuel-sipping all-wheel drive Corolla Cross gas model, one of our most affordable SUVs with 2 years no-cost maintenance. See your New England Toyota dealer, your all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota, let's go places.
Is that a compression nut? Oh! Ah! Ow.
We got a duct taper.
Cancer affects everyone, but there is hope at Northern Light Eastern Maine Medical Center's Champion the Cure Challenge, where every dollar raised helps patients in our own backyard. Make a difference. Walk, run, or cycle August 15th in Brewer. Visit ctcchallenge.org.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
To our national headlines. With the U.S. ceasefire for Iran still in effect for another week, the White House is trying out its own economic pressure campaign against Tehran. This as Democrats hope to pick up some Republican support for their own effort to bring an end to the war. Fox's Caroline Elliott reports.
This is one of the very worst military and foreign policy operations that the United States has ever taken.
Congress is back in Washington, and for Democrats, the first order of business is the war with Iran.
This war of choice, illegal and unwise, that is killing Americans, killing civilians, and wasting taxpayers' money.
Democrats are teeing up war powers resolutions in the House and Senate that would call on President Trump to stop the conflict immediately without congressional approval. But Republicans say it's dead on arrival.
There's not a Republican I know that thinks it's smart for this country to allow somebody that says they're going to kill us to have a nuclear weapon.
After talks in Pakistan came up short over the weekend, President Trump started a new blockade of Iranian cargo ships from passing through the Strait of Hormuz.
We can't let a country blackmail or extort the world, because that's what they're doing. They're really blackmailing the world. We're not going to let that happen.
Vice President J.D. Vance led the team of U.S. negotiators in Pakistan and says the main sticking point is Iran's nuclear program.
We must have the enriched material out of Iran. We must have their conclusive commitment to not develop a nuclear weapon. And I think that if the Iranians are willing to meet us there, then this can be a very, very good deal for both countries.
And both parties still hope a deal is possible before the current ceasefire runs out next Tuesday. In New York, Caroline Elliott, Fox News.
Congressman Eric Swalwell suspended his campaign for California governor amid accusations of sexual misconduct and assault. The Democrat denies any wrongdoing, but now he may also be forced out of Congress with a growing number of representatives saying they'll support a vote to expel him. Fox's Max Gordon has more.
Congressman Eric Swalwell suspended his campaign for California governor just days after multiple sexual assault and misconduct allegations were made against him.
These allegations, these stories about Swalwell, they've been out there for as long as he's been in the race.
Swalwell made the announcement on social media after posting a video message denying the allegations.
These allegations of sexual assault are flat false. They are absolutely false. They did not happen. They have never happened, and I will fight them with everything that I have.
Last week, an ex-staffer alleged Swalwell sexually assaulted her, and then 3 other women described various kinds of sexual misconduct by the Democratic congressman, including unwanted physical touching and unsolicited lewd text messages and photos.
The allegations are backed up, quite frankly, by a lot of evidence, and they're incredible. The detail that has been, I think, presented is really serious.
The political fallout was swift. A number of top campaign staff quit and prominent Democrats withdrew their support. He also faces calls from both parties to resign from Congress.
But I think that this is very important, that we believe women and that we show people across the Capitol and across the country that we will not accept this kind of behavior.
This person is clearly unfit for office. He needs to face the consequences, not of voters, but more importantly, the courts for his horrific actions.
The Manhattan DA's office is also investigating allegations made against Congressman Swalwell. In Los Angeles, Max Gordon, Fox News.
President Trump is taking aim at Pope Leo for his criticism of the U.S. actions in Iran, but the Pope is responding, saying he has no fear of the Trump administration. Fox's Lauren Green reports from New York.
Tensions are high between President Trump and Pope Leo.
I don't think that the message of the gospel is meant to be abused in the way that some people are doing.
The first pope from the United States has been an outspoken critic of the policies of his home country, speaking out on issues like immigration, Venezuela, and most recently the war with Iran. On Sunday night, President Trump didn't hold back.
We don't like a pope that's going to say that it's okay to have a nuclear weapon. We don't want a pope that says crime is okay in our cities. I don't like it.
The Pope has called for peace over military action in Iran and heavily criticized President Trump for his threat to destroy Iranian civilization, calling it truly unacceptable.
I think someone has to stand up and say there's a better way to do this.
In a pair of posts, the president shared an AI photo of himself depicted as a Jesus-like figure. Shortly after, he called the Pope weak on crime and suggested Leo would not have been elected if he was not in the White House.
He's a very liberal person, and I'm not a big fan of Pope Leo.
Pope Leo stressed he was not directly attacking Trump and will continue to share the message of the gospel.
I do not look at my role as being politician. I don't want to get into a debate with him.
Some prominent Christian conservatives who have supported President Trump in the past are heavily criticizing his AI post. In New York, Lauren Green, Fox News.
While the president pushes his blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, a different blockade half a world away is heating up. Cuba says it's had enough of America's oil embargo and tough talk, and it's ready to defend itself against a possible U.S. invasion. Fox's Jared Halpern has more from the White House.
As tensions with the U.S. intensify, Cuba's president has a new warning for President Trump.
The concept of revolutionaries giving up and stepping down is not part of our vocabulary.
President Miguel Diaz-Canel said over the weekend that any invasion of Cuba would be costly to the U.S. and would eventually destabilize the entire region. Diaz-Canel says he'd prefer a diplomatic solution, but if the island is attacked, it will defend itself.
The U.S. government that has implemented that hostile policy against Cuba has no moral to demand anything from Cuba.
President Trump said last month, quote, Cuba is next, raising fears he could be considering military force to effect regime change, a stance backed by a growing number of Republicans on Capitol Hill.
I think for what Diaz-Canel was saying about how there don't have to be any changes for Cuba to be better is a lie.
Democrats pushing back, blaming the Trump administration for creating a humanitarian crisis on the island through an oil blockade.
The collective punishment and cruelty towards the Cuban people, civilians, by the United States foreign policy is really outrageous.
Both sides say talks to end the blockade are ongoing, but there have been no details released so far.
These talks and discussions continue to happen at the highest level of our government.
The Cuban government has ordered a new round of military drills to prepare for a potential American invasion. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, our Jody Hersey was in Hamden to highlight a new locally focused magazine. And in sports, our Jack Webb was in Herman to highlight Ace Flag surprising some kids at a basketball clinic. We'll be right back.
Tuesday, the chilling 2-hour finale.
Never seen anything like it.
A deadly virus will change everything.
Amy,
step back. Doc, 2-hour finale, Tuesday on Fox.
We've got a 100-year-old company here, and it's because of the service, the quality, and the experience. It gets done right.
I think we've been doing it for so long. The only thing that we do